Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications, patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Josef Schachter, founder of the Schachter Energy Report, online at SchachterEnergyReport.ca. He's speaking to us from Calgary. Welcome back to the show, Josef.
My pleasure to be with you again, Jim.
Josef, everybody's talking about how hot oil has been up to this point. Are we going to continue to see positive prices?
Well, we got up to $77 on strong demand in the summertime, and concern that OPEC wouldn't increase production after the July agreement, which brought on, I believe, another 500,000 BOEs a day between mainly Saudi Arabia, but allocations to the other members. And then September on, there wouldn't be any more coming on. There was a deal originally for 400,000 barrels a day. Some, like Russia and UAE, wanted 500,000 barrels a day per month, so that they would have had 2 million to 2.5 million. And their argument was that the demand would grow sufficiently that would all be needed. The deal that finally came out on the weekend was that they did agree to arrive to lift the production levels by 400,000 barrels a day. So 2 million more barrels are coming on. But two things have kind of taken the price down. We went down as low as $65 on Monday. So from 77 to 65, down $12 in about a month, was due to two things. One, UAE and Russia wanted a higher quota, which they ended up getting in the deal. So they're able to increase their production, next year, and that would bring on more production than probably will be needed. Second, you have the Delta variant, which is picked up, and you're seeing a lot of Asian countries, be it Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, China, all going into more lockdowns and tightening the economies, which means demand is going to be less. So you have this tug of war between the growth stimulus view that, we're all going to get inoculated and life will go back to pre-pandemic, and the fact that the pandemic is still on and that there are places in the world which were recovering and now reversing. You look at the United States, and 80% of the caseload now is the variant, the Delta variant, and that the people who are in the hospitals are the unvaccinated, the anti-vaxxers, and the young, so that there is a pickup, which they're calling the Wave 4. And so there's a battle between the reopening trade, which Monday got beat up badly, and we had a 725-point decline in the Dow. And then yesterday we had a big bounce, and then today we're having a decent bounce again, where people are saying the reopening trade is good, earnings have been good, and markets, are going to continue their lofty ways. I think oil prices will probably, move around between 65 and 70, 172 here for a little while. And then when we get into September and we see the demand decline from the summer driving season, I think that's when we're going to see prices and inventory start building, especially with the increases coming on from OPEC, plus the U.S. Production has gone from 11 to 11.4 million barrels a day just in the month of July. So they've had, big increases in domestic production because of the increase in the rig count. So we're going to see, potentially OPEC more volumes coming from the United States. If the Iran deal brings on more volumes, at the same time you're having more pandemic issues, I think that's going to be where you'll see a build in inventory in September, and I think we break $60 WTI. So I've been cautious on the market. We were trading at the highs around 145 on the S&P TSX Energy Index. Today we're trading around 126. We were at 119 on Monday. I think we bust the 119. And if we go down to 100, on a break of 60, that would be a reasonable call. And then if we break 60 and go into the low 50s, which is possible depending upon how large the inventory is built, so we have to wait to see that data, and how bad the pandemic is in the fall, which historically is when the pandemic picks up in activity and in terms of the number of caseloads, then we could see the index go down, maybe 75. So when you take where we're at 126, and you go down to 100, that's a pretty nasty correction in itself. And when you take it from 145 down to the 100, we're looking at 30% plus correction. So I'm in the camp that you still want to be defensive. You want to be not overly exposed. And on up days like today, if you've got big profits, take your profits.
With the airline seeing a lot more passengers now, are we going to still be flying as much around both the Canadian and U.S. Thanksgivings and into Christmas?
Well, we're beginning to talk about reopening, but with the new, they're going to say that people can come from the States to Canada if they're fully vaccinated. So we're going to have documentation of that. So the vaccine passport issue comes back up again, when you're traveling. And the Asian markets travel has slowed down because of the pickup and the lockdowns. So, for example, Australia, half the country is now on lockdown again because the COVID cases have picked up. And what's nasty is that many in some places like Australia and some parts in the Middle East, which got a lot of vaccinations done, the caseload that's coming back and many of the people in the hospitals were vaccinated with one of the AstraZeneca or Pfizer or Moderna, and they're now catching the mutations, and so there's now question that are we going to need a booster because of the mutations, and then do we get even further mutations from Delta going into the fall?
We'll have more with Josef Schachter right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Josef Schachter. Joseph, what's going on with natural gas?
Natural gas is booming. You've got a number of issues there. Number one, of course, the electricity needs are very high because of for air conditioning demand. So U.S. NYMEX is trading at $3.87 U.S. AECO here in Canada was $3.83 today. Going back in prior summers when we didn't have the heat waves, we were probably in the buck and a half range for AECO, so we're way better than that. So the natural gas companies will be reporting significant cash flows and much better improved operational data when they start reporting in the next week or two for the second quarter, and then the third quarter will probably be very, very healthy compared to last year and even 2019. So the industry is doing well, and part of it, of course, is you have coal-fired facilities being shut in the U.S. TransAlta announced yesterday they shut down another one and moved it to natural gas. So we're seeing more natural gas taking over from coal. Also, you've got the problem we talked a few minutes ago about hydro. The water levels at many of the dams in the States are not up to levels so that they can produce the electricity that's needed. And then, of course, the electricity grids are running at full capacity, that they're having blackouts or brownouts where they're telling people not to be using or they're pricing it so that it's very expensive if you're using it at high demand periods.
Didn't they tell people in California, park your electric car?
Yeah, if you, again, because of the it's like, where does the electricity grid come from? And given that nuclear power is not being moved forward, given that they've shut down some of the natural gas-fired places, because of some of the environmental concerns, and the hydro has gone against them, and now you have all these forest fires, so you got more problems there. I think that they're going to have to reverse and just say, look, which is the least environmental footprint, and nuclear probably will get more attention. Japan is planning to close down some of their coal-fired and move more towards nuclear. They're also talking about hydrogen and all the other new technologies, renewables that are available, and I think that we're looking at a period here where we're going to have to reevaluate the goals of the environmental targets for 2035 and 2050, and realize that they're unrealistic based on the facilities we have today and the amount of money that's going to be needed to get to those targets. And carbon capture, can it be done the way people think in the size? Or do you get carbon offsets, or do you buy carbon credits? Buying carbon credits hasn't really improved the world. You need to do other things. So, I think there's going to have to be a reevaluation of what's realistic versus the pie in the sky that the climate change and government people are throwing out there, which are great from what they're saying, but reality is not going to be able to make that happen.
Stuart Muir and I just had a conversation about this headline. Are Canadians ready to transition to a lower standard of living? Because half of our economy depends on natural resources. Are we just going to dump that and live on government handouts for the rest of our lives?
I think we'll end up throwing the politicians out of office if that happens. I think people will not want to give up a standard of living. They're going to want their houses. They're going to want to have their recreation. They're going to want to have their cars. Maybe there'll be more, better mileage, from them. And maybe we'll continue the trend towards more use of EVs. But if they want people to backtrack in terms of the quality of their lives, I think that's illogical and won't happen. And the politicians that push that will get thrown out of office.
Is there anything else we should be keeping an eye on the energy front?
Yeah, I'd be watching the situation in Canada, because we're getting closer to the LNG Canada project happening. We saw Tourmaline announce a deal where they're going to be shipping natural gas down to Cheniere at the Gulf of Mexico, so that they can put it into some of the new trains they're building. So I think that while we're attacking the industry is finding solutions to show that they can meet the needs of the demand side. I'd like to see, as you mentioned earlier, that one of these other two projects get pushed forward for LNG on the coast of BC, because I think that if we can end up sending natural gas from Alberta, BC, Saskatchewan to the Asian markets, and they shut down coal, I think the planet benefits, and I think that would be very, very beneficial to our industries here. And I still think we're going to be doing mining. We're going to need copper. If you're going to build more batteries, you're going to need lithium. You're going to be copper, nickel. So I think the assumption that we're going to, backtrack on our economic development, especially on natural resources, I think is totally lunatic. It's not logical. And if Canada wants to have export revenues to pay off for our imports, we're going to have to continue with having a resource industries, and we can't alter it into having Shopify's businesses in every province and every city in Canada.
I read two reports that said the country that will benefit the most from climate change is Canada, because it will uncover natural resources that are buried right now under ice and snow.
The same argument you're hearing with Russia, with the Arctic, that there's more opening there. and of course also the northern routes where you can save going through the Panama Canal and getting to the major markets by going over Russia or over Canada to get to the market. So I think that we have a lot of opportunity, and as that whole thing does. But again, I think if we want to be able to control future development in an environmentally cautious approach and to meet the needs, but at the same time do it climate friendly and make sure that the environmental footprint is as clean as possible. It's going to require and also First Nations, and will have to be part of it, especially up in the north. That whole thing is going to have to be part of the go forward strategy. But my expectation is that in the next decades or two, that's going to happen, and it will be a positive for the Canadian economy going forward.
Joseph, thank you so much for chatting with us.
My pleasure as always, Jim. Take care.
My guest has been Josef Schachter, founder of the Schachter Energy Report online at schachterenergyreport.ca. He was speaking to us from my hometown of Calgary. If you have any questions for Joseph or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@housestreet.com and we'll ask those questions for you. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @HousestReet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on HousestReet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HousestReet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.